Gift Box is also right there. They're off the turn. They're into the stretch. Tom's Data and Quip head and head with 3/16 to go. Seeking the Souls bearing down. Gift Box is fourth. And from far, far back, Yoshida's rallying to be fifth. Down to the final 16th. Seeking the Soul bearing down on Quip. Quip has to fight back. Seeking the Soul with all the momentum. Seeking the Soul scores in the Foster.
All right, welcome back to Racing Rundown. We're doing a Pacific Classic preview right now, more in-depth than we were able to do on the episode of the podcast, which I just uploaded onto iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts at. That will be in the description if you want to check that out, but I ran out of time with the amount of allowance that I was able to use for recording the podcast to talk about the Pacific Classic more in-depth. So I decided to do that on YouTube and give you guys the benefit of having a larger, more in-depth preview of this race. So for starters, the favorite right now is not an overwhelming favorite, but it is Seeking the Soul, winner of the Stephen Foster Handicap, his last time out. That was his first win of the year, not knocking him per se, but Seeking the Soul was also second this year in the Pegasus World Cup. And third in the Ali Sheba behind McKinsey and Tom's Data. Was eighth in the Dubai World Cup, but we'll kind of give him a pass on that. But regardless of how he finished in Dubai, Seeking the Soul has been relatively consistent. Aside from a couple of races where he hasn't done too well in his 4 and 5 year old years, and now in his 6-year-old year, he has been somewhat consistent. And off of that win in the Stephen Foster Handicap, very easy to see why this horse is now the favorite for the Pacific Classic. He already has his Breeders' Cup berth, but he's looking for another win in a Grade 1. And if he wins this race, it would definitely put him in the conversation with McKinsey for one of the top handicapped horses in this country. Another horse that I have actually been very into. A lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people have been doubting him, but Quip is kind of a horse that flies under the radar a little bit. After his win, after I saw him win the Arlington handicap, the Oaklawn handicap, I was very, very impressed by that win. And I thought, and didn't necessarily think he was going to win, but I thought he would run pretty well in the Stephen Foster handicap, and he did exactly that. He was second behind Seeking the Soul. And Quip is a horse in this race that I'm not going to pick him, but I still think Quip is going to run a very big race in the Pacific Classic. And if he does win, don't be surprised. But I would definitely use Quip in an exacta or a trifecta. Another horse that should not be overlooked, and I don't think he is going to be, is War Story, off of a fantastic race in the Monmouth Cup. Now, I know the Monmouth Cup wasn't the best of fields, and it was a Grade 3 mile and an eighth, but I think that the Monmouth Cup was a very good race for War Story. And he got pressed hard in the stretch. He was able to come back and win that race. He was very impressive in that. I can't stress that enough, how impressive he was there. Some of his other performances this year, he was 8th in the Brooklyn Invitational. That wasn't too good. Also was 3rd in the Charlestown Classic, so a little bit better than that, but has been iffy at best. But I think that War Story is a horse that you are going to want to take a very sharp look at in this Pacific Classic. Pavel is another horse that I want to get to. Pavel is usually a long shot, but is getting a lot of respect in this race. And Pavel ran very well in the Pacific Classic last year, considering he got beat by 12.5 lengths by Accelerate. But being able to get second in that race was good for him. 3rd his last time out in the Suburban Handicap, was also 6th in the Met Mile, and 4th in the Dubai World Cup and San Pasquale. Has not run well in the Breeders' Cup in his career, was 10th both times running the Breeders' Cup Classic, but this is a horse that is usually close at the end of races. Aside from a couple of finishes where he didn't do too well, Pavel is usually somewhere close in the exacta or the trifecta in most of these races. So Pavel, I would also say, is a horse that you want to use in this race. I now also want to get to Tenfold, a horse that Steve Asmussen attached a lot of, I'm not going to say unnecessary hype, but got a lot of people talking about Tenfold when he compared him to Gunrunner. And the quote was, he said, Tenfold is going to improve like Gunrunner. Now, that wasn't saying that he was going to be Gunrunner, and I don't think anyone ever thought that Tenfold was going to be Gunrunner. because Gunrunner was very good his 3-year-old year. Tenfold was not. And, you know, a lot of people forget how good Gunrunner was as a 3-year-old, but he was really, really good as a 3-year-old. Obviously, we know what he did in his 4-year-old year. I think that right at this point, Gunrunner is the best horse from that 2016 3-year-old class. Sorry for people who like Arrogate or Accelerate. I think that Gunrunner is the best horse from that. But Tenfold and Gunrunner are two separate horses. And while Tenfold, I think, has improved a little bit, I don't think that he improved even to the way that Steve Asmussen thought he was going to improve. But Tenfold is a horse that you could look out for because he is improving. I don't think he's going to run very good in this race. I think he is going to be one of the horses that is a long shot. I would play him if I had to play a long shot, but he wouldn't be my first choice to play for a long shot. That's what I would say about Tenfold. John Sadler is also bringing his typical entry that does not include gift box, like I mentioned earlier. He is running, though, Campaign, who is off of a win in the Cougar the Second Handicap. Rafael Bejarano has also never won the Pacific Classic, even though he has had a lot of success at Del Mar. I believe they said over 700 wins at Del Mar and no win in the Pacific Classic, so that's upcoming for him. Flavian Prat rides Sadler's other horse, Higher Power, second in the Wicker Stakes. And Flavian Prat has been winning everything at Del Mar. He has been very good there, so I would consider playing Higher Power. If you are a person who likes to play horses because of the hot jockey, then play Higher Power and Flavian Prat. Campaign, like I said, Bejarano is due. Won the Cougar the Second. Horse that you should definitely look out for. Not my first choice, not a lot of people's first choice, but a horse to definitely keep your eye on. And like I said, if you like playing hot jockeys, then play Higher Power and Flavian Prat. Bob Baffert and Martin Garcia also bring in for the top, third in the Cougar the Second Handicap. That's probably, if you want a double-digit long shot, that's probably your best choice. But this is an interesting race to play. You also have, for big long shots, Peter Urton Saddles, Draft Pick, and Mongolian Groom from the Connections of Mongolia and Saturday. That horse, Mongolian Groom, was second in the San Diego Handicap his last time out, but I don't think he's going to do too much in this race. But that being said, this is a very interesting race from a betting standpoint. My pick is Seeking the Soul. I would, if I was going to box something, and I'm not going to box this, but if I was, I would box Seeking the Soul and Quip. And I would definitely play Quip either as a second or third horse in a trifecta. So that's where I stand on the Pacific Classic. I do again want to apologize for all the lack of content. I've had serious computer issues. Resolved all those now. This is going to probably get out at a pretty bad time for some people to see it. I'm sorry I couldn't get this out earlier, but you got it, so there you go. I will see you guys next week for the episode number 29 of the podcast. That will be out on Wednesday, our new upload date. Check out Twitter for information on a contest which we are doing for the Travers Stakes. Twitter at Rundown Racing. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you and good luck playing the races.
Stretch and a 4-wide Giant Expectations is coming to challenge with Quip. These two off the top of the turn. Pioneer Spirit is battling on, as is Remembering Rita. 4 across the track, might be 5 because Lone Sailor's on the move as well. Quip has the lead. Giant Expectations and Quip leads. To the outside, Lone Sailor. At the rail, Pioneer Spirit. It is Quip just in front and Lone Sailor. This is very, very close.